All right, I'm gonna go over some of my gear. I'm gonna try to break it down as quickly as I possibly can, and give you guys the oh hey, give you guys the best breakdown on the gear that I've used in the last year since I switched over to Kuiu's gear, and I'm gonna yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. It's gonna be good. God damn. Let me see here. All right, so I had to write down a list because there's definitely way too much stuff for me to try and go over. The first gear that I'm going to go over, and I know a bunch of people asked me about it because of the sale that was going on and all that kind of stuff, was the Yukon rain gear. The Yukon rain gear was the first gear that I picked up. I picked it up last year, going into a 4-day storm where I was going to be looking for mule deer. You know, trying to see what I can find. It was the first time that I have ever gone into a 4-day rainstorm and come out at the end of every day absolutely bone dry. I've heard different things about it. I had no problems with it. I've had no issues with it. I picked up the Yukon gloves. I think I used them like 3 times. My biggest problem that I found with the rain gloves was I couldn't feel my trigger underneath or through the gloves, so I just, you know, I stopped using it and I moved on to different gloves. The Yukon gaiters I found have been probably one of my most important pieces of gear throughout the entire season. Whether it was like in the rain, trudging through creeks and streams or rivers when I sunk my truck, or if it was just out, you know, busting up through the sagebrush, stuff like that. But the Yukon gear I love, absolutely 100% love. Next would be, you know, what I spent most of my summer in was, spent most of my summer in my Tiburon gear. It was awesome. It felt great. God, I think I wore it for like 5 days straight when Josh and I backpacked into Nevada, and I didn't find any problems with it. I didn't put any rips in it going through the sagebrush. I didn't put any tears in it. It performed very well. It stunk because I stink when I hike for 4 days or 5 days straight. I tried using my Icon Pro hat, you know, in the hot weather. It was great, but I definitely found that the Boonie hat for me worked a lot better underneath the sun. And just move right along here. My attack pants, I picked those up, you know, and I got a lot of use out of them. I really like them a lot. They're great for the price. They're wonderful pants. You know, that's about all I can say about those. My Alpine pants, I love those. I wore them in the cold weather. I wore them in the warm weather. You know, they were just all around. I wore them all season, from August until, you know, my last few hunts that I was on. And you know, I really liked them. When it started getting really cold, I used the lightweight merino base layers, switched to the heavier weight merino base layer, and then eventually I went into the synthetic mid layer. You know, and all of that kept me warm. You know, going through was you know, the merino layers, I really liked them. And when I first started buying the gear, I definitely say that the merino was my favorite stuff that I was wearing. It was my favorite stuff that I was using. And you know, I bought some Peloton stuff, and it just felt weird to me. I didn't break it in, you know, I didn't really give it a chance. You know, so like the problem that I found with that, like the merino lightweight gloves, right? I loved them when I first got them, and I still like them now. Do I use them that much? I probably won't use them until next summer. But to be honest, if I'm using them, it's, you know, I'd be surprised. I'll probably be using the attack gloves or the 240 gloves. The lightweight merino beanie and the lightweight Peloton beanie, they're definitely my favorites. I used the heavier beanies, and they definitely were a little bit too warm for me. You know, hiking around, I just start burning up. Same with the neck gaiters. I love the neck gaiters, absolutely 100%. I definitely say that must-haves would be the 240 gloves, and the thin neck gaiter, and the fucking thin beanie. All right, let me think straight here. You know, and after a while, I ended up picking up some Peloton layers, and I definitely have grown into liking the Peloton for myself, my personal opinion. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. I definitely have enjoyed the Peloton immensely since I got it and really started wearing it and using it and putting it to the test. It's just all around been a way better layer for me. You know, like I said, I really like the beanie. I really like the gloves. The 240 gloves are just, you know, they're as far as I'm concerned, you know, they're probably some of the best gloves that they have. I've got my hands soaking wet from rain in them, and they stayed completely warm the entire time. You know, there's absolutely no problems with those gloves at all. I'm wearing the lightweight hoodie right now. I love it. I wore it a lot during archery season in August, and I'd use it with the guide vest, and that during the summer and in the mornings, it was just enough. It'd keep me warm all morning, And then during the daytime, I would just, you know, take off my guide vest and keep the hoodie on. As it got later into the seasons and the weather got cold, I switched over to using my 240, and I'd use my 240 with the guide vest still. You know, and I'd love to sit here and say that, like, I definitely used my guide jacket a lot. My guide jacket when I'm hiking is blistering hot. I love it, but I just didn't experience anything cold enough to where I really used it. And when I did get into the cold, I definitely was just, you know, I was going to my synthetic mid layer, which is the Teton insulated layer, and that was, I mean, hands down, that was definitely by far the best thing that I used all year. Whether it was the mid layer pants that are the synthetic insulated layer or the jacket, you know, and if it was extra cold, I'd just throw my vest on over it. It was perfect. You know, and let's see what else. The guide vest is you know, it's pretty awesome. I like it a lot. Same with the guide jacket. The only time I really did use the guide jacket was last winter when I was chasing pigs, and I'd get out there and it's like 30 degrees in the morning, you know, and it gets to like 40 during the daytime. And that was really the only time that I ever used it. And even when it get to 40, if I was hiking and putting on a lot of miles, you know, I'd just have to strip it off. It'd get way too hot. You know, going further down, I got 6 pairs of socks. And the socks for me have been awesome. I have not had any problem. I had one sock deflate, you know, like where it loses its elasticity and then it falls into your boot. But 5 pairs of the socks, you know, I mean, beating them up, using them every single weekend, hiking around. They were always good. I haven't had much problems with that at all. Some of my new favorite is definitely the attack gloves. If you don't have a pair, I definitely recommend picking a pair up. You know, I can definitely feel my trigger through the glove. You know, and same with my bow. I can definitely feel my bow release through my glove. Because I use a trigger, I don't use the back tension. The guide gloves are great. They're a little bit thick, but they definitely work in the winter. The only problem I had with the guide gloves, you know, because they're like not indestructible, you know, like I expect everything to be completely indestructible, like my truck, is that pig that I got last winter, when I was skinning out the head, I went straight through the guide glove and 1/4 inch into the tip of my finger, you know, so it's got a nice cut in it, you know, but like, man, that's what happens when you use your gear, dude. It's going to get beat up. It's going to get thrashed. It's going to break. Bad things are going to happen. You know, that's what we like to do. We like to go in there, we like to get in deep, and we like to break shit. And if we're not doing it right. Next would be my boots. I picked up whatever the original boots were that came out that got recalled. And then when they got recalled, I switched over to the Rebel K's. And the first 75 miles of the Rebel K's were rough. You know, but since they broke in, I absolutely love them. They are extremely comfortable. I have climbed up the face of granite rocks without a problem. You know, they're definitely designed for just smashing the mountain and, you know, getting vertical. You know, and next thing that I'll talk about is my pack. Move this out of the way. So I got the 1850, and I also have, what is it? I think it's the 52. Don't quote me on any of like the exact numbers that I'm throwing out for some of the gear, because definitely could be wrong with like 240s, 145s, 72, whatever, 97. But I found for the 1850, it's been a great day pack. I know I just saw a video. They're coming. They're in development on a new lighter day pack. But the 1850 for me has just been phenomenal. I've been able to carry my glass, carry my tripod, carry my hiking sticks. And at the same time when I needed to, we were able to loosen it all up, fit an entire elk hindquarter between the pack and the frame of the pack, and then throw in a whole nother boned out bag into the inside of the pack and pack it out. The amount of adjustability of these packs is just like, it's ridiculous. I used my 52 or whichever one it is. I used that when I went out backpacking. I think we did 5 days. It packed everything, without a problem for me. Definitely, if I was going to go on a longer trip, I'd be using the 72. But for 5 days, I think I was eating maybe 2,500 calories a day. I was able to carry all that stuff in, without a problem. And speaking of that, the Yukon rain gear is definitely not a pack rain gear. If you're going on a packing trip, get the Chugach, get one of the other ones. It's lighter weight. It takes up a lot less space. The Yukon rain gear definitely took up a lot of pack space when I was doing my backpacking trips, into the backcountry and all that kind of stuff. And something else, I wanted to point out, like, gear is not indestructible. Like my Teton insulated jacket definitely got rips. It definitely got tears. I definitely beat it up. And I'm not going to call them and say, hey, can you warranty this? I was hiking through sagebrush and I got caught on a branch and I tore my jacket and I deserve to have a replacement because your fabric's not indestructible. I hunt hard. I hike a lot. So that's on me for taking my gear into rough places. Another game changer for me was the hiking sticks, the hiking poles, the trekking poles, all the poles. What I loved about those this year, and the way they were introduced to me, is I was going out for a day with a buddy, and dude was just smashing me all over the mountain. I couldn't keep up with him. It was rough. It was a bad day for me. Absolutely bad day for me physically. And he's all here, and he pulls out the trekking poles and hands them to me. And from there, I knew for a fact that I had to get them. They made such a difference with having the weight load on my back. Being able to help me, being able to stop and take a rest on them if I needed to, as well as helping me pack out game when I was on my way out, with a backpack loaded down of meat. The next thing I'll talk about is the binocular harness and the rangefinder holder adapter case majig thing. I love it, man. It totally served me well. It fits snug. It fits right. The only difficulty that I had, and it was with the rangefinder case, is I got into some spots when I needed to pull my rangefinder out. And when it was on my chest, it was definitely like a rip to try and get it out. You know, I think what I'm going to do for the solution to that is cut a block of wood that's maybe a 1/4 inch thicker, stuff it in there, let it stretch out, and then throw my rangefinder back in there for next year. You know, let's see. What else? So yeah, like I was saying, some of my favorite gear, my must-have gear that, you know, if I had to get rid of everything and just be like, all right, these are my must-haves, right? It's definitely going to be the mid-layer synthetic insulation, top and bottom. Absolutely 110%. For me, you know, I haven't bought the down yet. So for me, that's absolutely always, you know, going to be with me if I'm going to be going into a colder hunt. Definitely always going to have a Peloton long sleeve with me. I really like them a lot. Another essential for me is definitely going to be the guide vest. It's hands down been one of my favorite things to have out with me on the mountain. Also the Yukon gaiters. I have the Scree gaiters as well. I do use them, but I don't use them as much as I use the Yukon gaiters. You know, but yeah, I like the Yukon gaiters a lot. Something that's a sneaker, you know, is definitely the belt. And I never even thought about buying a belt. My buddy called me one day and I was like, dude, what's the sneaker? Like, what should I get that's like a clutch item that I'd never even think about? And he's like, dude, get the belt. So I got the belt, and I've actually ended up getting a couple of them. They're extremely, you know, the way they work, for me, it's been great. I've loved it. You know, the other favorite is all summer long, those Tiburon shorts. You can't beat them. They are awesome. You know, they get a good airflow going. You know, you can't, hands down, you can't beat that. You know, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of my gear breakdown for the most part. The 240 hoodie is also something that I really love a lot. I'd always recommend having that. You know, I can always take layers off if I get too hot, you know, but you know, if it's cold and I'm not getting warm, that just sucks. You know, and for me, that's been one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed about all of their gear, is that I'm going out there, whether it's cold or it's warm, I'm always comfortable. I can always look at the weather and adjust accordingly. Bring rain gear if I'm gonna need it, or maybe if rain is gonna happen. You know, but yeah, that's the gear. That's the gear. Let's you guys are fucking disgusting. What is this shit? What is this shit? Oh my god. You guys are all crazy. You're all crazy people. What are you saying? Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, I saw that. That's, hopefully you heard me. Fucking, you guys are just, oh my god. But yeah, I mean, if any of you guys have any questions, or you guys want to know anything about the rest of the gear, you know, I mean, any of the gear that I get my hands on, I'll definitely always try to relay to you guys and help you out.